Hello, everyone. Today we are going to be talking about how to use the iPads that you recently received, most of you earlier this week or last week, as well as how to set them up, how to use them in the classroom, and then specifically how to use the Show Me app that I believe all of you have a paid subscription to use from the district. So we're going to talk specifically about that app at the end. So when you got your materials, you should have gotten an Apple Pencil, looks like this in a white box. You should have gotten an iPad case, looks like this. And you should have gotten the iPad itself. This came in a brown cardboard box, or a few of you may have gotten the white fancy Apple iPad container with the charger inside of it. So the first thing you want to do is take your iPad out of whichever box that it came in. And I'm actually going to share my screen with my document camera so you can see this a little bit better. Let's see. Yay! Okay, so once you have your iPad out of the box, you're going to want to take the iPad case out of its box. It does come with a quick little direction sheet, and when you open it up, it has pictures and text of how to put the case on. It's kind of like following IKEA directions. To some people it makes sense, to some people it doesn't. So we're going to go through this. I also have a video on the website of how to do this as well. So the case itself, let's move the iPad out of the way for now. The case itself looks like this. And if you take this kind of tray looking piece off, this is like a protective cover, but it's also a mount that you can kind of rest your iPad on and stand it up at an angle if you like. So we're going to set that aside for now too. And then the iPad case itself actually has three pieces. The first one is this silicone kind of outer shell. It kind of is a rubbery type feeling. So the first thing you need to do is take that off. And the best way to do that is to kind of get in this groove, kind of peel it a little bit. And once you kind of get it started, and get over to one of the corners, it peels really nicely off, kind of like a banana peel. So we're going to set the rubber piece aside for now too, because we don't need that quite yet. And what you're left with is this hard plastic shell. So it's hard on the back, it's hard on the front. It does have this clear plastic cover, which is really important. It protects the glass of your screen, so you want to make sure you leave this clear plastic piece in there. These two pieces come apart by these little notches on the back. They're marked with arrows. There's two on each side. So you can use your finger. If you have nails, you can kind of get under them and just kind of pull them apart a little bit. And once you kind of get it apart a little bit, I recommend sticking your finger inside of it to keep them from closing back up on you. Once you get three sides pulled apart, unclipped, the fourth side just kind of falls apart on its own. So now you have everything taken apart. Take the bottom half of the tray, find the camera hole, it's this square up in the corner, and locate the camera on your iPad. It's up in the corner as well. And just match those up, and then just double check all the notches along the side, the power button up here on the top, the volume buttons here on the side, and particularly the charging port on the bottom, that everything's lined up with the correct holes. And then take the front cover, locate the home button, which is right here, and line that up with the home button on the iPad and just click it down into place. So as long as you don't push directly on the glass screen, you can kind of just lay it on a flat surface and press down. Once it stops clicking, you're going to put the silicone wrapper back on as well. So again, find the camera hole, which is that kind of rectangular shape, and just fit the hard plastic case into the rubber. It's going to be a little bit tighter of a fit because there's not as much give now that the iPad is actually in there. And you have to kind of pull it and stretch it to get it all the way up and around. A lot of people stop here thinking that the device is already protected in the case, but if you notice there's a pretty large gap all around the side here, you need to actually bring the silicone up and into that groove, the same groove that it was in when you took it apart. So you notice here, it's nice and tight and has a tight seal to the case, whereas here there's a big gap all the way around. We want it to look like this all the way around the iPad. So you kind of have to sit, give it a little tug, a little rub, massage type deal going on here. Get it all the way up into those grooves, all the way around. The last side is the hardest because it has the least amount of give. So if you kind of like pull it away and roll it up over the edge, sometimes that's helpful. All right, so now my silicone is all the way up. I just want to double check that all of these little notches fit inside and close. This is what keeps your iPad watertight, so that if for some reason it were to fall, water can't get into those plugs and grooves and things that are going on there. So once you have the silicone on, that's it. The case is protected. If you look at the piece with the stand on it, this middle piece does stand up. So it allows your iPad to rest at sort of a low angle here, or you can stand it up the other way and it'll kind of stand up fully so that you can use it more similar to like your laptop screen. When you are transporting your iPad to and from school or to and from wherever, I highly recommend taking this protective case and slipping it over the front so that it protects the glass screen, so that a pen or something sharp or something blunt in your bag, something with a protrusion, can't go through the glass of your iPad. Nothing's going to go through back here. It's got some pretty strong silicone and plastic, and the back is aluminum. So we just want to make sure that nothing cracks through the screen. So this will help protect it from that as well. Any questions about putting the case on your device? No? All right. So we're going to go through the setup process too, because I know some of you still have to set up your device and go through the step-by-steps on the iPad itself. It is on YouTube, Shane. I have it. It's ready to go. All right, so back to the screen share. Here's your iPad. If this is the first time you're using it, you want to push the power button, which is up here on the top. Over here are your volume buttons. And down here, this circle button, this is your home button, it's called. So if this is your first time using your iPad, you want to press and hold the power button until the white apple shows up. Once the white apple shows up, you can let go of the power button and your screen will turn into hello in multiple languages. Once you see the different versions of hello, you can push the home button and it will ask you what language you're going to be working on. We're working in English. It's going to ask you your country, the United States, and then we're going to do a manual setup down here at the bottom. Find your Wi-Fi. If you're at home, you should have your home Wi-Fi password available. If you are at school, you can do this using the guest Wi-Fi. You do not have to log on to the staff Wi-Fi to set this up. Once you type in your Wi-Fi password, you can hit the join button. It'll process and think. Sorry for the glare. A little better. There we go. It's going to tell you that this device is remotely managed by Milford Public Schools. Hit the next in the upper right-hand corner. It's installing the configuration that we push out as a district. And then you have the option to set up a passcode. I highly recommend creating a passcode for your device. That way, if a student picks it up, they can't get into it. It protects it so that you're, especially if you're logged into your email or your calendar, things like that, you want to keep that information private. You don't want just anybody having access to it. You do have different options. It defaults to a 6-digit code. You can change it to an alphanumeric password, a 4-digit password, or if at this point in time you don't want to set up a passcode, you can do don't use passcode and then hit don't use passcode again. If you do input a passcode, you need to input it twice, so initial time and then confirm it, and then it'll be accepted. We want to enable location services. This makes it so that if for some reason your device is left somewhere, it's lost, it's stolen, we have the ability to track that device. You now can decide if you want your iPad to be lighter colored, so the boxes are white and the background's kind of lightish, Or if you want it to be dark, the boxes are kind of darker colored and the background itself is dark. You can choose either one. You can change it later in your settings. I'll show you how to do that. So hit continue. And you're now logged in.
Sarah.
Yes.
My screen is saying enter a password.
Okay.
Should I make one up?
A password or a passcode?
No, it's saying pass. I chose the staff Wi-Fi network.
Okay, you're not going to use staff. You're going to use guest.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't.
That's okay. So you're going to get out of the thing asking for the password and switch it to guest.
I'm doing that right this second. I am so doing it.
Excuse me, Sarah?
Yes, please.
It says, finish setting up iPad. Passcode is ready to be set up in settings. Do I need to say not now or okay?
Would you mind holding your device up to
Sure, hold on.
your thingy, your camera?
Oh, hold on. Oh gosh, wait. Can you see it?
You can hit okay.
All right. Okay. Finish setting up your iPad. Get the most out of your iPad with free blah, blah, blah. Set up passcode. So do I set up a passcode?
Yep, if you want to.
Okay.
Sarah, I'm on a page that says location services.
You're going to enable. Yes, we want those.
Okay, I want them.
Yep, go ahead. You're on mute.
Sorry, after you enter your Apple ID, the verification code, is that the password?
No. So the verification code is so Apple does this whole two-factor authentication thing. If it ever asks you for your verification code, that's the verification code. Your password or your passcode was sent to you by Apple School Manager. If you need that sent to you again, I can do that.
Probably have it.
Can you repeat that again? Was that a password or passcode?
So a passcode is what unlocks your device. Hold on, I'll tell you exactly what it says. Your password on this screen where it says password, that's a 6-digit code that was sent to you by Apple School Manager. That was not sent by me. I sent the verification code. Apple sent the password.
Okay.
Suzanne, you want to change that to always allow? Fruit fly somewhere. Okay. All right, so we're jumping ahead a little bit. Once you are in your iPad, once you're at this point where you can see apps, you'll notice that some of them were kind of grayish. It just means that they're loading, they're getting preloaded onto your device. And the app that comes specifically from the district, the one that we push out to you guys, is this one here on your second screen. It has an S and an M. It's called Meraki MDM. This is the one where you'll be able to download the apps that we have opened up for the district. The reason you have to do it here, as opposed to those of you who have Apple devices, you typically would go to the App Store and download them. Those of you that have iPads for the district, you've always just gone to the App Store, typed in the password that we've given you and downloaded whatever you want. The reason we did this is twofold. One, we have a lot more devices in the district this year than we've ever had before. I think we're up to around 800, whereas in years past, we've only had 200 or 300. So it's a lot more things to manage, and we had to find another way to manage that. The second thing is when I went into that free apps account, I was finding things like Roblox, Subway Surfer, apps that I had no idea what they were. And I was talking to my kids and they were telling me that they're games and they're these and they're video watchers and all this other kind of stuff. stuff that really had no place being on a school-owned device. So we kind of had to weed out some of the apps that really didn't have a place in education. If you find that there is an app you would like to use for educational purposes, there is a Google form that you can fill out stating your name, the name of the app you want, and the reason you want to use it for education. I can send that to everybody in the chat in a couple minutes. But if you notice in this Meraki app, once you open it up, you allow notifications and enable location. If you go into the apps section here at the bottom, there are over 100 apps in here for you to choose from. Ones that were already downloaded by a teacher using the free apps account that we had previously. So these are all apps that teachers either felt were useful or something that they downloaded to use with their class on their own. You have free pick of any of these. You can install any of these. You can remove these if you're not finding them useful on your device. And if the ones you're looking for are not here, like I said, you can request them using that form. You are not able to go into the App Store to download apps. It's when you sign in and you log in and you click the App Store, it's going to tell you that this Apple ID cannot purchase or download apps. So the only way to get apps on your school device is to do so through this Meraki app over here. To finish setting up your iPad, you want to go into your settings app, which is the gray one with like the gear picture on it. Cancel this. Right up here at the top, it says sign in with your sign into your iPad. When you click this, this is where it's asking you for your Apple ID. Your Apple ID for most of you is going to be your school email address. Some of you had a .1 after your school email, after your first initial last name, because you had already created an Apple ID using your school email address. So to get one that Milford Public Schools was in charge of, it just added a .1 after your first initial last name. So type in your email address. So once you have your email address typed in, you're going to click next, and it's going to ask you for your password. Your password is that 6-digit code that was sent to you by Apple School Manager. So what was mine? And hit next. That wasn't it. That wasn't it either. Okay. If you don't remember your password, so after you go in and you type in your password, it's going to tell you to make a new one. Once you've made a new one, if you don't remember it, shoot me an email and I can go into the Apple interface and reset it for you. And it will email you a new temporary password, and then you'll have to reset it again. So if that happens, it's just a quick email to me. I'll send you an email from Apple School Manager and just follow the directions on the screen. You don't have to be signed in to your Apple ID to do what we're going to do today. The only thing that Apple ID is going to help you with is it will save any of your stuff into an iCloud account for you. So like if you have notes in here, if you use the Notes app or the Reminder app, it'll take those things and save them in the cloud so that if you log in using that Apple ID on another device, if this device falls, breaks, cracks, and we give you another device, when you log into your Apple ID, it'll bring all that information back over for you so you don't lose it. Okay. Questions about setting up the iPad, logging in, any of those things? All right. So now let's talk about your Apple Pencil real quick. And then we'll move on to some of the apps that you can use. All right, so your Apple Pencil came in a box like this. And it's really important that when you open it, typically when we open stuff, we take the box, we take what we want out of it, and we throw everything else away. Usually that's fine. But for Apple Pencil, you want to take this packet, which is usually just warranty information, sort of directions on how to use something. However, with Apple Pencil, they also include two important little pieces in here. They include a replacement tip. So if the tip on your pencil wears out, you can unattach it and put this one on to replace it. And they also include the charging piece. So if you notice on your Apple Pencil, up here on the top, you have a removable cap. And inside is a lightning connect. This is called a lightning connector. And this charges and pairs your pencil to your iPad. However, when you charge your pencil, you're supposed to charge it with your iPad cord. Obviously, these two things cannot connect to one another because they are the same type of plug. That's where this connector piece comes in handy. So you take the connector piece. One of the ends has a little teeny tiny, I don't even know if you can see it. It didn't show up this morning either. There's a little teeny tiny itty bitty gray circle on one end. That's the end that goes to the pencil. And then the other end is where the charging cord from your iPad will plug in. And you'll know it's the right one. Both ends will attach to the pencil itself, but only one end will attach to the cord. The other end, the cord will not stay inside of it. It's too loose. So if you find that the cord is not staying in, take the little white piece and flip it around and try plugging it in the other order. And that's how you charge your pencil. So the question came up this morning is, how long does the charge last? I have not had mine die. I don't use mine that often, but I haven't had it die yet. My daughter has one, and she uses her iPad to draw. She does digital drawing and animations on her iPad. So if she's sitting there constantly drawing for, she said, like 3 to 4 hours, she'll need to charge it. So it'll last. If you're not constantly writing the entire day, it should last you the whole day, and then you can charge it that evening. When you are ready to take your pencil and pair it to your iPad so that they talk to each other, it pairs using a Bluetooth connection. All you have to do is open up the port where you would plug in the charging cord, take the cap off your pencil, and attach your pencil to your iPad using that port. It's okay. It takes a little bit of a push to get it in there, and that's okay. Then wake up your iPad, and it's going to say it's requesting a Bluetooth connection. So you're going to click pair, and now your pencil will talk to your iPad when you write on it. It'll actually show up what you're doing. You can use your Apple Pencil like your finger to open up apps. Oops, come on. There we go. Maybe. So it works just like your finger when you touch on an app. You can also use it in the Notes app itself to handwrite notes. So you start a new note and you can actually handwrite things.
Excuse me, Sarah?
Yes.
So we just need to put it into the iPad, click on pair, and then we can just stick it out?
Yes. So once you hit the pair button, you can just unattach it and it's still connected.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, no problem. I do recommend that you take your cap. I actually have a replacement cap here. If you lose your cap, we don't have replacements. I had to give my cap to a teacher who, when they opened their Apple Pencil, their cap was already missing. So you can buy replacement caps on Amazon. I think they're like $5 or $6. My daughter had an extra one, so I stole hers. But they make them rubber and they make them hard. It doesn't matter. You can't use the cap as your stylus. It doesn't integrate onto the screen. So it doesn't matter if it's hard or soft. It's just what you prefer. But if you do lose your cap, you definitely want to look and try and get a replacement. We don't have replacements. They don't send them to us with the pencils themselves. We would have to order them. So make sure you hold on to your cap, to your spare point, and to your charging dongle. I keep mine all together in a little like pencil pouch type deal. I keep my iPad charger in there. I keep all my accessories for my pen in there. So I try and keep it all together. You do not have to pair your pencil every time you go to use it. So for example, if you use it in the morning and you don't use it again until after lunch, it should stay paired. The only thing that might break that pairing connection is if the pen itself runs out of battery. You might have to repair it after you charge it. But my daughter said she doesn't even have to do that every time. It's only every once in a while she has to reconnect the pairing of the device.
Sarah,
Yes.
I see there's another Apple Pencil cap in this little gadget. Why would we have to, why?
So if you use it a lot, the tip will actually start to wear down. So if you find that the tip isn't interacting, if the tip gets worn down and you find that it's not acting like calibrating with the screen, similar to how our whiteboards sometimes get uncalibrated, you may just need to replace the tip.
Gotcha. Thanks.
Yep. Any questions about the pencil?
You showed us like a kind of like a white space. How did you get to that if we want to write just on that white space, kind of like a notepad type thing?
So on your iPad, there's an app, an Apple app, so it's on the first screen. All the Apple apps are on the first screen. If you go to the first screen, there's one called Notes. And when you open that up, it's a place where you can either type in notes using the on-screen keyboard, or you can write the notes using the Apple Pencil. Or you can draw. You can also import images and photographs and pictures and things like that. It's a great place to just kind of keep notes. I mean, that's what it is. I keep little reminders of things coming up. I keep my kids' passwords for their various websites and things like that they need for remote learning. So I use my Notes app a lot. And that does sync up to your iCloud. So like I said, if anything ever happens to your iPad and it needs to be replaced, if you have logged in using your iCloud account, your Apple ID, it will come over to your new device when you log into the new device too. Anything else, guys?
Yes, Sarah, sorry.
No, you're fine.
So I was just trying to go back into the apps and now it's asking me for a passcode. And I did enter the passcode that I had entered in earlier. And it's just keeps on going back to enter passcode, enter passcode.
Can you show me?
Sure, one moment. Hold on.
So this is the passcode you created to sign into to unlock your iPad.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. That's what I'm trying to put in. Okay, thank you. I'll try again.
Mm-hmm. All right, so now we're going to talk about some of the apps that you can use when you are working with your students. So I'm going to screen share my iPad again. Actually, no, I'm not. So one of the really cool things about using the iPad with Zoom is that, so the way I've been sharing my screen right now has been using my document camera, using my Ladybug. I have it set up. When I go into screen share, I switch it over to advanced options. I go to content from second camera and it shows you what's going on my document camera. Same thing as the Ladybug app on your desktop of your laptops. What you can do now that you have the iPad and it's all set up, when you go to screen share, back in the basic options, your first choice is to share your screen. Your second choice is to share your whiteboard. Your third choice is to share your iPhone or iPad. So when you click to share your iPhone or iPad, and then you click the share button, it will give you on-screen directions of how to get that set up. One of the requirements to do that is the device and your laptop, the iPad and your laptop have to be on the same Wi-Fi network. So if you're at home, they both have to be logged onto your home network. If you're at school, they both have to be logged on to the staff Wi-Fi because your laptops are logged onto the staff Wi-Fi. If this is the first time you're doing this, and mine's doing it right now, you do have to install a plugin. And it's just a little device that
Take a picture.
Sarah, you were frozen for quite some time there for me. Could you repeat what you said?
I can. I was very frozen. Hold on one sec. I actually tried to log on with a different computer. All right. So in order for your screen sharing directly from your iPad to work, you have to be on the same Wi-Fi network. So your iPad and your laptop have to be on the same Wi-Fi network, and it'll tell you which Wi-Fi network when you click the share button. It pops up with a directions screen. It'll say connect to Wi-Fi network, and it'll say the name. So if you're at school, it'll say MPS staff. If you're at home, it will say the name of your Wi-Fi at home. The second step is to tap the screen mirroring button on your iPad itself. And then your third is the one that tells you which screen sharing name you're going to join. Typically it defaults to Zoom dash and then the precursor of your email address. So mine is S Boyle. Miss Segala's would be K Segala. Mary's DeStefano's would be M DeStefano. So it typically defaults to what that portion is of your email address because that's how Zoom identifies you. So when you're looking for your screen share button, and I'll do this the other way first so that you can actually see it. When you look for your screen share button on your iPad, you're going to open it up so that you see the apps. Oops, here's my apps. And where the battery power is up here in the corner, you're going to pull down. And this is your control center. You can add other buttons here and we can talk about how to do that. But for right now, you're looking for screen mirroring. So when you tap screen mirroring, right here, it's pulling up my living room TV. But once you've turned on screen sharing in Zoom, actually, no, wrong one. I'm gonna go back to iPhone, iPad. I now have Zoom S Boyle there. And when I click it, you can now see my iPad on the screen. So you can see it vertical this way. When I'm screen sharing, I do like to turn it so that it's horizontal and the kids can see more of the screen. But what you're seeing right now, when you share your screen, what you're seeing on your computer right now is what your students will see on their computer or Chromebook at home. And you can scroll through, you can show them different apps, you can show them different things. You can open up this notes app and you can show them how to draw a tree. You can write things for them. You can give them messages. You can have slides up here for them to look at on the screen. So if you can pull it up on your iPad, they can see it on their screen on their end. So today we're going to talk about, yes.
Can I ask a clarifying question? It's me,
Please.
Jackie. So you're Zooming on your computer, and
Yes.
through your computer, you're choosing to share the iPad screen.
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I had the stuff right. And then you were drawing in notes. Can you
Yes.
draw on slides? Like if you didn't have your notes up, if you wanted to draw on your slides, can you do that?
Yes, but it's not in slides. You have to take your slides and save them as a PowerPoint and open them in Keynote, or you can save them as a PDF and open them that way, but it will not work in slides itself. You have to save them in a different format.
Okay, are you gonna go over that later?
Yeah.
Okay, getting ahead of myself.
No worries.
Sarah, can you go back to the start of this where you were going into your screen share? Like you're on your, whatever you call desktop or whatever, and you said that up at the top, there's the little Wi-Fi button and the 93% and the battery button.
Yep.
And is that where you get to that screen you said?
Yep. So you just put your finger where the little Wi-Fi like picture is and just pull down and it pulls this up.
Oh, and so it pulls up that little thing and then it says screen mirroring there?
Yep, so where it says Zoom S Boyle right now, it'll say screen mirroring, and the icon will look the same. It just won't be white. It'll be dark like
Mine's
the other
saying
buttons
Screen
are.
mirroring, hold on.
Mhm.
And then it'll just come up for me? I don't have to do anything else?
So once you hit screen mirroring, it'll come up with a list, and from that list, you need to find Zoom dash whatever Zoom tells you your connection is. So usually
Okay.
it's your first initial and last name.
Okay, cool. Thank you. I got lost there.
Yep, no worries.
Sarah, should that, I'm sorry, go ahead, Michelle.
I thought you had said when we set it up, I'm not at school right now, so
Mhm.
when I go to school, are we gonna be on, is this gonna be on the guest Wi-Fi or the staff Wi-Fi?
So once you go through the whole setup process, your iPad should default to the staff Wi-Fi. If it doesn't, come see me.
Okay, because I thought you said it was gonna be guest, so my question was, how can we be on guest on this, but then share it with the staff
So
one
you-
for our computer?
Yep. So you do go on guest to set it up, but once you've set it up, part of the Milford Public Schools monitoring of the device is to enable it to connect to all the Wi-Fi connections.
Okay, because I set it up at home, so when I go in tomorrow,
Mhm.
should it, if I have any problems setting it up, I mean, not setting it up, but having it connect to the staff, just come see you?
Yep.
So my question was, should we be able to be getting this to pair and do that right now? Because I pulled down where you said and found that, but it's not, it's just like screen mirror, it's just spinning.
So it's not going to do it until you turn on the screen sharing on your Zoom. So right now
Okay,
it's not going to do it because I'm sharing my screen.
Okay, got it, good.
Oh, okay, because mine's doing the same thing as Donna's.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
got
so
it.
it's not going to work until you actually physically go to share your screen. Like right now, when I turn my screen sharing off, if I were to pull up my screen mirroring, it just says living room TV. It didn't say Zoom Sarah Boyle until I hit my screen share button.
Got it.
So somebody's hand, I don't know whose.
Sarah, is that screen mirroring that we just did something you have to do every time you want to share what's on your iPad in the Zoom? Okay, so it's every time.
Yes,
Gotcha.
only if you stop sharing. Like if you're in, for example, Google Classroom, and then you want to go to slides, you can just go to the next app. You don't have to stop sharing and then reshare. So as long as you're in the same sharing session, you can go to whatever app you want to. But if you stop sharing and then want to share again, you have to reset up that connection.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yep. Amy, you had a question?
It just got answered, Sarah. Thank you. I had
Okay.
hit the screen mirroring and it just keeps circling. So I was
Yep.
wondering if I was doing something wrong.
Yep. So it
Thank
only
you.
works when you actually screen share. Yep. Anybody else?
Sarah,
Kathy, what's up?
back to the quick question about the Apple Pen. How long does it actually take to charge? Or how long
I
should
have
you
no
charge it?
idea. Emma,
Okay.
how long does the pencil take to charge?
Because there's no light, you know.
So she says it only takes about an hour and 30 minutes, maybe an hour tops. So like if you're using it like a lot in the morning, maybe just plug it in during lunchtime and it'll have some more juice in the afternoon.
Perfect.
But if you're not using it like the entire class, it should be good for the whole day. I mean, if you're going to sit there and write formulas out all day long, yeah, you might want to charge it at lunchtime. But if you're just using it a little bit, you should be fine for the day.
Perfect. Thanks.
Excuse me, Sarah?
Yep.
Is the Apple Pen already charged or we need to charge it?
It has some charge, but you might want to charge it. And Christina says 15 minutes. So I don't know. I don't use mine that much. I have a hard time remembering to use it instead of my finger.
Is there a reason why we couldn't just keep the charging thing on the pen and keep the cap in? It seems like it's on there pretty tight, or is that a bad idea?
So the only thing I can think of that would be a bad reason is it kind of is open on the end. So if any dirt got in there, you would have a tough time getting the charging plug into that other end. So because it is open and not sealed on the other end, if dirt got in there, you'd have a tough time charging it. And I mean, this is pretty cohesive.
Just seems easier than having to pull the cap off, charge, put the cap back on. That little cap, I'm afraid that little cap's just gonna get lost, but.
It
whatever.
won't get lost. The other thing is that some people like to purchase the holders because There's no holder on the OtterBox case. So some people like to buy the silicone kind of holder so that they can, you know, keep track of it. And the silicone holders will not allow this to be on the top. You have to have the top on the top. And they actually, a lot of the holders actually have like a little thing that when you take this off, it's attached to the side of the pencil, like a little strap, kind of like a mask lanyard. It keeps attached to it so that when you take the top off, you're not like flinging it around the room or anything. It just kind of dangles and hangs there while you're charging it. So if you wanted to buy one of those, they're like $5, $7 on Amazon. I bought one, and then I bought my own case that had a pen holder, so.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. All right, let's move on. I'm gonna share my iPad again, and we'll go through some of the apps. So if you have your iPad all set up, and I would like for people to go into Meraki, and we're gonna download some apps that we're gonna play around with. So there we go. All right. So the first one I want everybody to download is going to be Google Drive and Google Classroom. Also go ahead and download Jamboard. For those of you that don't know what Jamboard is, it's kind of like Padlet, like Google's version of Padlet, where the kids and the teacher can work together on the same whiteboard space. You can add artifacts, pictures, text, all different kinds of things there. And then if you scroll down a little bit farther, everybody needs to have the Show Me app. I believe all of us have paid subscriptions to the Show Me app. So there's some pretty cool things we're going to talk about that app and what it can do. And then there's a whole bunch of math manipulative apps on here. So you'll notice there are these green background apps here across the top. Those are all part of a math collection of apps, and they're kind of scattered throughout. They're kind of named with what they are, so they're scattered throughout. There's also these ones like Fractions right here. Fractions by the Math Learning Company, GeoBoard by the Math Learning Company. Those again are scattered all throughout. These are some really great math manipulatives that can be used to demonstrate math things for the kids so they can actually see them. So if any of these apply to you, feel free to download them. I'm going to play around with pattern shapes just to kind of show you what some of them can do.
And then Sarah, are you going to show us how to get Google on there? Because I got something on there that gets me to Google, but it's not the Google.
So we have
icon?
Safari. Yep. So
Right.
the Apple web browser is Safari. I have a thing in to get Google Chrome to come over. Unfortunately, it takes like a day or two for those app requests to be processed. So I have it ready to go in Apple. I'm just waiting for our management software to bring it over so that it will show up in these app choices over here.
Thank you.
Yep. Let's try that again. It didn't go. All right. So while those download, I'm going to get out of this and you'll see that the apps are starting to load on my screen. So the first one I'm going to jump into is Google Classroom. And when you jump into one of the Google apps for the first time, you're going to have to sign in with your school account. So you just type in your email address. I highly, highly, highly recommend when you do this the first time, you do not do it like I'm doing, where you're doing it on the screen, because you'll notice here in a second, it actually shows your password if you don't type fast enough. So you don't want any of your students having access to your password. So make sure you've signed into everything before you're screen sharing with your kids. Then you can click the next button. It will sign you in. And every app, the first time you use it, is going to ask you if you want to allow notifications. If you allow notifications, it's going to turn on all notifications for that app. If you say don't allow notifications, it's going to turn them all off. Either way, whichever choice you make, you can go into your settings and adjust whichever one you've chosen. Maybe you allowed them, but you're getting too many notifications. You can go in and play with the settings. Maybe you chose don't allow and now you do want to see notifications from that app. Again, you can go in settings and adjust that. And we're going to show how to do that a little bit later. I personally don't like the notifications, so I tend to choose don't allow. And then this is my Google Classroom. So the really cool thing, there's two really awesome things about Google Classroom that you can do using your iPad or even the Google Classroom app on your phone, specifically Apple phones. This doesn't work as well on Android phones. So if you open up a class, the first thing you might notice is that the sections are on the bottom, not the top. We're used to seeing the stream, classwork, and people across the top. On the iPad, they're at the bottom, but everything is the same. You see the classwork, the same icons, the same buttons. People has your teachers and your students, it's all there. The only thing missing is the grades tab. The grades tab does not exist on the Apple app. However, when you're in people, up here in the right-hand corner where these squares are, this is your student, your random student selector. So if you hit start, it's not going to work great because I only have one person in this class, but it's going to shuffle and pull up a name for me. So this is the person that's in my class, and I could hit next. And if I had more than one person, it would pull up the next person in the randomizer to kind of do popcorn reading or around the world or answer this question or talk to your neighbor, whatever it may be. So those of you who may use the class selector or the student selector in things like Class Dojo or Class Techie Tips, this is just another option for you to have a student selector that you can use with your class. And then the other really cool thing that you can do in the Google Classroom app, if you go into your classwork and you open up one of your assignments by your students. So this student did a writing piece. So if I open up her writing piece, here's her writing. If I go to the pencil icon, again in the upper right-hand corner, what it's going to do is it's going to give me a version of her assignment that I can scroll through. And maybe on this screen, I want to leave her a note down here from the bottom. I'm going to write it in green. You forgot to do this page. Okay, so I give her feedback, and I can give her handwritten feedback just like a piece of paper in the classroom. I don't have to type it. I don't have to figure out how to put a comment in there and make sure the student sees it. I can take my Apple Pencil. I can write on top of the slide or the Google Doc that the student turned in where I want to give them feedback, where I want to give them something to do. And then up at the top, I can click Save. And when I get out of this assignment, you'll now notice there are two versions of the assignment. There's the original Google Slides that the student submitted, and now there's a PDF edited version of the slides. That's where my handwritten message is. And when I return this assignment to the student, they will have access to both of these files. The nice thing about this is, I don't know if it's happened so much at Woodland, but I know it's happened a couple of times up in the older grades. Students have gotten their assignments back. They've gone into the assignment and made edits and made changes, and then said that they didn't understand why they got the grade that they got. So by having this PDF snapshot of time with your handwritten notes, you're able to say at the time when you turn this in, this is what your assignment looks like. Because whenever we return assignments to our kids so that they can see their grade and see our feedback, they again have editing rights to all the files that they turned in. They cannot edit this PDF. They cannot edit the things that you hand wrote on top of their work on the PDF. If you want them to do that feedback chain where they get their assignment, they follow the feedback and they turn it back in, making those corrections, they can still do that, but you'll have multiple PDFs showing their progress through this feedback loop. Okay? Questions about using Google Classroom?
Sarah, can you show one more time how to get to the pencil so that you could do that?
Absolutely.
That went a little quick for me.
Sure. So I'm in my classwork. So just like the tabs at the top, now I'm in the tabs on the bottom. I go to classwork. I find the assignment that I want to do. That one didn't turn in. We'll do this one. So even though this one already has one, I'm going to get rid of that one. That one's from this morning. So here's the student's assignment. Just like in regular desktop, laptop, Google Classroom, when I would click on the student's file to open it up, here's her assignment. She didn't type a whole lot. If I wanted to make a comment on here, in the upper right-hand corner, there's 3 icons. I'm going to click on the pencil. It's going to take that Google Doc. So last time it was a slides, this time it's a doc. It's the same process. It converts it into a PDF, and I now have these icons on the bottom. There's a pen, there's a marker, there's text if I want to type something. I tend to just stick with the pen. It's the easiest one to use. When you click on it, you can choose your color and your thickness. Let's do purple this time. And then you can use your Apple Pencil and just start writing on the document itself. So if you're a teacher who does stars and smiley faces and underlines things and circles things, this is your way to do that. So I know some of our English teachers and our reading teachers, when you're doing your assignments, you like to sit there with that pen or that marker or highlighter and actually go through the student's work and mark up what they're doing. This is how you can do that now. And then when you're all finished, you click the Save button in the upper corner. It's saving the new version of the file. And then when you X out of this view, you'll see that that new file is attached to the student's work. They still have their editable file, their slides or their doc. So if you're initiating that feedback loop, the original file is still there that they can go in and edit. But your PDF is now a snapshot of time of the feedback that you've given that kiddo on the assignment that they turned in.
Sarah, when they open up their assignment, they'll see both and they'll have to choose between
Yes.
the two. And it's a
Feedback
PDF.
on-
I'm sorry.
There's
I'm
no
sa-
feedback on the Google document. All the feedback is on the PDF.
Okay, and because it's a PDF, is it every time then you do something, like if it's a multiple page document, like I have a notebook the kids are working in, they'll get another PDF every time, or it will be still the same one PDF?
So if you go in and give feedback all in one session, for example, on 5 pages, let's say you have a 5-page assignment and you sit down and you give feedback on all 5 pages, that's one file.
Right.
But if you're using the same PDF multiple times and you're sitting down multiple times, each instance of giving feedback will be a separate file.
Okay, thanks.
Does that make sense? Any other questions? Kathy, you're muted, hon. Welcome to my world.
Sorry. The iReady app for students, is that the same thing for us?
No, there is no iReady app for teachers. It's just for students.
Okay, so we can't get into the, okay, all right.
Nope. All right, let's move on to another app. So to get out of apps, for those of you that haven't used iPads before, when you're in an app and you want to do something else, if you single click the home button, it will take you immediately back to your apps page. If you double click the home button, it will open up all of the apps that are kind of open in the background. And if you swipe up through them, it will close them. So you're using less memory, power, all that good stuff. It'll make your battery last a little bit longer. So you can close out of the apps when you're done with them. Let's talk about some of the math manipulative sites, the different apps that you have on there. So I'm going to open up this fractions one. There we go. And you'll notice that a lot of them have the ones that are by the Math Learning Center, the ones with this kind of blue border around them. They're just kind of free manipulatives for you to use, just as if you were using drawing on the whiteboard, or you handed the kids fraction bars, base 10 blocks, whatever it may be. So you can use these buttons down here on the bottom. So you can either do bars. So here's my bars. I want them to have 5 parts. So now I have fifths up here. I want to rotate it, make it tall, drag it around. I can change different colors. So now I'm going to be red. I want to show 2/5. So this is just me using my finger, dragging things around on the screen. I'm asking the kids, how many more fifths do I need to make a whole? Okay, so they can color them in and show the different colors. I can also do fraction circles. So here's my fraction circle. I'm going to have 8s on this one. Again, you can make it bigger, rotate it, change the color inside of it. You can turn off and on these little labels that go with them. A lot of the math manipulative apps, you need to kind of try them out first to see what they do. Because if you're using them, I'm going to go back into my Meraki app for a second. Go to apps. These ones that are green, the ones that say 10 bead math, 10 frame fill, 10 frame fill plus, if I do one of these are actually more like quizzes and questions. They give the kids the manipulatives, but they actually give them problems to solve or questions to answer while they're working. These ones with the blue bar, the ones by the Math Learning Center, they're more just kind of free range manipulatives they can use, or you can demonstrate how to solve a particular problem. I think that those are the only 2 kinds of manipulatives that are on here right now. But if you find something else that you like, feel free to put it in that form and we can download it. The only other one is this one here. It's called School Kit Math. It's this red suitcase. It's more similar to some of those websites that have all different manipulatives, and you can kind of pick and choose which ones you're using at any given time. So it has different manipulatives built into it. So you can kind of, if you're doing fraction bars and now you want to jump over and do base 10 blocks or whatever it may be, you can do that. So if I open up this green manipulative app over here, okay, these are just kind of like the welcome page. Up here on the top, there's a question mark. This tells you how it works, what it's going to do. And then if you tap the gear button, like it says, you can go through and change the different settings and the different things that it has the kiddos do. Oops, sorry, wrong button. To get started, you click the question up in the upper right-hand corner. So for this particular one, it's the 10 frame up in the corner. And it says, okay, here are your counters, your circles. How many more do I need? And you as the teacher can use the counters to move into that block and then choose the answer on the bottom. I know with the Chromebooks that kids cannot use the remote control, and I don't even know if the remote control works with the iPad itself. So one of the reasons these particular apps might be useful is particularly for our EL students to get that functional language and to talk and to give directions to the teacher of what they want them to do. So a student could say, move the yellow circle. Well, move it where? Move it up, move it left, move it right, put it next to the blue one, put it in the empty spot, choose the 2. They need to give somebody directions. So this is a great language, functional language opportunity for all of our students, but particularly some of our EL students who need to work on some of their oral language skills. Okay. Hit 2, says you're right, goes through Y, and then it'll give me a new question. Questions about the math manipulatives. All right, so I'm going to hop out of this app. And now I'm going to jump into the Show Me app. So if I open up the Show Me app, it says it would like to use Bluetooth. The reason it's asking to use Bluetooth is because it wants to work with your Apple Pencil. So the answer is okay. And then again, the notification question, that's up to you. I don't like notifications, but if you do, please feel free to turn those on. And on this particular app, the toolbar is on the top. You have your text input, your eraser, your adding of artifacts. You have a whole screen eraser. You have a record button, which we're going to come back to in a second. And then you have your drawing toolbar. So you have a certain set of colors here. And if you click the plus sign, you get other color palettes that you can choose from and change what your colors that you're working with are. You can also change the thickness of your pen that you are going to be writing on the screen with. So if you go to
Excuse me,
this
Sarah,
article,
where,
yes.
where's the Show Me app? That I lost it somewhere. Like,
So it's
where do I
in
go?
Meraki, and it's a
In
white
Meraki?
app, and it says Show Me across the app. So it's right here.
Okay, hold on. I'm sorry. I'm
That's
in,
all right.
in the apps one, right?
In Meraki.
Yep.
So you have to go, it's alphabetical, it's show me.
Hold on, I'm getting there. I see seesaw. Show me. Got it. Thank
Yep.
you.
So then
Sorry.
you just download that. No worries.
Yep.
So if I go to this one that has the plus sign with the picture, this is where I can insert pictures. I can grab things from the internet. I can change the background of my slides, which we're getting ready to do in a second. And I can also add Google Drive files. So if you have slides that you use with your kiddos and you just want to like draw on top of them, you can import them from Google Drive here. And the really nice thing is using the recording button, which we're going to talk about in a sec. You can record yourself talking and writing and drawing on top of your slides that you're going to use with your students. So you can choose backgrounds. And you have blank pages at the top. You have lined pages in the middle, in the second row. The next line is grid paper, just squares. After that, you have your coordinate grids, then your music staff papers, and then dot papers. I will say up here in the plain background papers, the black and the green can be a little tricky for the students to see on the Chromebook. So the lighting of the Chromebook is different than the lighting on the iPad or a laptop. It's not quite as bright. So particularly this green chalkboardy looking thing doesn't work real well, and it makes it a little difficult for the kiddos to see. If you use the black background, I highly recommend that you choose really bright neon-y type colors, because some of the dull colors will get lost and the kids won't be able to see them on the Chromebook. So they need to be really, really, really bright for them to show up with the color scheme that they have on their devices.
Sarah, I have a
So I'm gonna change
question.
it. Yep.
It seems like we can only write in this app using the pen or typing the letters, right? I just want to be sure,
Correct.
because I tried my finger and it doesn't work.
No, your finger actually works as the eraser. So if I draw with my pen and then I take my finger erases what I wrote.
Oh, cool. Okay. Thanks.
Yep.
So Sarah, I was messing with this yesterday and I didn't have my pen up and charged and I was drawing all over with my finger.
You can, but like it defaults. So like if I take my finger and touch those colors,
Right.
here we go. I can write with my finger, right? But if I don't have if I have my pen paired up, I have to use the pen. If I haven't
Okay.
paired my pen, I can use my finger.
Got it.
Yeah.
Which is good
So
to
you
know
could
if you
write-
can't find your pen.
Yeah, you just can't have it paired up. You got to like turn your Bluetooth off. So you can draw all over the place. You can draw shapes, you can write text, you can use the text button and type text in. The other thing you can do that's kind of nice is that you can choose a photo if you already have photos in your camera roll on your device, or you can take a photo. So if I turn on take a photo, I allow my camera. That's my kitchen. And now that picture is going to be part of my show me. I can crop it. Maybe I don't want all of this hot mess in there. Maybe I just want to focus on a blender. I can click done. That picture's in there. I can move it around. I can bring it to the front so that it sits on top of things. I can send it to the back. If I have other pictures in there, it can be in the back. I can rotate it and turn it. There we go. I can put text on it if I need to, and then I can click done. If after I click done, I want to come back in and manipulate that picture some more, I use my finger and I tap on the picture and I hold until those menu bars come back up again. So it's not like a one and done thing. I can come back into it and edit it. Once I've hit done on that, it's there. If I want to record what I'm doing and I want to be able to share this to Google Classroom, put it on a YouTube channel if I have one, share it with the kiddos in an assignment showing them what they're going to do, you're going to tap the record button here in the center of the screen. Click the OK allow button if it asks. And now it will start recording what you're saying and what's happening on the screen. So it will start recording as I'm drawing and writing and adding things onto the screen, whether it's drawing, whether it's text. The only thing that it will automatically pause for is if I go to add an artifact, it automatically pauses because it doesn't want the recording to have access to my photos, to my camera, to my Google Drive, things like that. So it will automatically pause for that. And then if I'm ready to go again, I just hit the blue pause button in the upper middle and it will keep going. The nice thing about that pause button in the top is we used the example earlier this morning of showing the kids the different positions for soccer. So if I go to a new page and I say, okay, on a soccer team, you've got your offensive line, you've got your midfielders, you've got your defense, and you've got your goalie, right? So we're talking about the different positions, where they're supposed to go. I can pause my recording, pick a new color, and this is gonna be, you know, where the other team is. And I'm gonna add lines to show where my players should be going. And now when I click the pause button to reactivate the recording, those orange and blue lines that I just drew are just going to show up in the recording. They're not going to actually see me drawing them as I go. They're just going to be part of the video and they just appear. So it'll be part of that. If I want to, I can click this erase all button up here at the top and I can clear the drawings, meaning things that I drew with the pen, or I can clear everything. So for the example of the first page, I have a photograph. If I choose clear drawings only, it's only going to erase the things that I drew. If I choose clear all, it's going to take away that photograph as well. So I'm going to choose clear all. And now I'm working with a totally blank canvas. If I want to pull in things from my drive, we talked about adding our slides in here. Sign in. Again, do all of this before the kids come in so that they're not seeing your password. I'm changing my password after this anyway, so it's fine. So once I get all signed in, I have access to all of the stuff that is in my Google Drive. And you'll notice that the stuff in my drive is organized by the last opened thing. So it has all of these edited Jane student files because those were the last things I did in Google. I could pull up, here, let's pull up this one. So this is a Google Slides. It's going to pull it over for me and it's saying which part do you want to pull in? So I pulled in this page on here. And then I go to page 2 and I pull in the next slide and it keeps the slides there for me so that I don't have to keep going back into them. Go to page 3, we'll add one more. And now these slides are part of my Show Me. So while I'm talking with my students, I can use my pen to go through the different things and I can actually have them, I can write on here and say, don't forget whatever it may be. So this is a way that I can mark up my slides. I just have to pull them in one at a time.
Excuse me, Sarah?
Yes.
Did you, when you say you pulled them in, are you talking, did you click on the little arrows at the very top where it says 1, 2, 3, that left and right arrow, or?
So those are your pages. When you pull them in with Show Me, you have multiple pages. So just like slides, they go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up and down. Show Me goes side to side like a book. So you go to the picture with the plus.
Yes.
And you go to Google Drive. And you
Yes.
have to, so this is a slide deck that's I think 5 or 6 pages long. So you have to pull each page of the slides in separately. You can't pull in the whole presentation. You have to pull in page 1, page 2, page 3. If I wanted to, I could put more than one on each page of the Show Me, but to keep it as clean as possible, I like to space them out so I have room to draw and write on the slide itself.
When you say pull in, are you just sliding it over onto your screen?
Just click on it. So if you use
just
your
click
pen or
on
your
it.
finger, you just click on it and it shows up on the screen.
Okay, and then you would go on to the next page using the arrows at the top and then click on the next slide? Okay,
Correct.
thank you.
Yep. Kathy, you had a question still?
That was my question.
Okay. I do have a bunch of, so I know like some of it you can't see because I'm doing it with my pencil and it doesn't show up like a screen recording where things are like highlighted all the time. So I do have some links on the Show Me page on the EdTech resources that Show Me actually put together. They have a whole tutorial blog. So I pulled out the ones that I thought were most relevant. So there's a bunch of links on there too, to kind of walk through the different processes. So once I'm done with this, I'm done making my recording, I'm done putting my artifacts in here, I've talked through everything I want to talk to, I'm going to hit the done button. And it's going to say, do you want to discard it and get rid of it? Do you want to save it and upload it? Or do you want to save it as a draft and come back to it? So I'm going to save it and upload it. And it actually gives you a preview of what you recorded and you can hear yourself. And then you click save and you give it a name. I'm going to call it demo 2. You can give it topics if you like. And then you're done adding topics. Oh, you got to give it at least one. So I always do other and then call it other. So then you're done adding topics. And then if you haven't already, you need to log in with your account. And we do the sign in with Google. Find your name. It's loading me up. And you can see it's posting right there, the first one over. And when that blue bar is fully finished, now my Show Me that I recorded is right there. If you find that your Show Me audio is not great, if you're making this at home and the doorbell rings or the dog goes bonkers or someone drops a dish in the kitchen and you need to re-record, you can do that. There's a link on the Show Me EdTech page about how to do a re-recording, how to redo the voiceover of your Show Me if you need to. Once you're in here, you can take your Show Me and you can put it into your Google Drive to put into your Google Classroom. And the way you do that is you click the gear icon in the corner. And then in here on the bottom, there are 2 things important to point out. The one is Google Classroom. Seems great, seems fantastic. When you click on it, you have to sign in, which is fine. Sign in, we've done this before. And it thinks and it thinks and it thinks. The problem with it is it's pulling over all of the Google Classrooms associated with everyone who's part of our subscription. So you're getting Google Classrooms from teachers in other buildings, from all over the place. So we don't want to use the Google Classroom integration. I don't know why it's doing that. I have to talk to the Show Me people and figure that out. But you can get it to go into your Drive. And then once it's in your Drive, you can put it into your Google Classroom. So to get it into your Drive, it seems counterintuitive, but you click download. And when you choose download, you have a save to Drive button. So when you save to Drive, it's going to spin. And then you should get a confirmation, either pop up or a confirmation email that your Show Me has been uploaded into your Drive, so that you can then attach it in Google Classroom, put it into a Google Slides. If you're using Seesaw, you can put it in there. So once it's in Google Drive, you can do basically whatever you want with it. You can throw it in YouTube if you have a channel going, however you want to use it. So I'm going to get out of here. The other really cool thing about Show Me is that this Explore button in the upper middle toolbar, you have access to Show Me's that have been created by people all over the world, all over the country who use this app. So if you're looking for something specific, let's do music. Maybe you're looking to teach the kids about the notes on a keyboard, or maybe you're talking about the treble and the bass clef. Some teachers have already created lessons with voiceovers that you can reuse. So if you find one that you like, let's go back to the keyboard. So if I like this one, I watch it, I preview it. If it's what I want to do, I can send it and share it with myself so that I can then use it with my students too. So if it's on here, you can use it with your particular students and share it with your students as well. And you can make a copy of it and edit it and adjust it if maybe something's not quite the way you would have explained it, or you know your students would understand it this way different than that way. You can go in and make a copy of it and adjust it for yourself too.
Excuse me, Sarah, it showed that it says, I think share through email. Can you show that again, please? So okay, so you would say email this, show me, right? Because I
Yep.
don't have Twitter. Okay.
Yep. You would watch it. It would show up here. You can favorite it if it's something that you want to use and keep. So you definitely want to preview them first, because just like yours that might be up there, they're all teacher created. They're not like professional show me's. They're all created by other teachers who are trying to just use the app and help their students learn. Any other questions about Show Me? All right, I know we had a question real
Sorry,
quick.
couldn't unmute
Go ahead.
myself fast enough. Is it possible to project your iPad onto your projector at school?
So I know there's an Epson iProjection app, but I don't think it works because I think our projector's on a different Wi-Fi, so it doesn't work. I think the easiest way to do it would be to do it through Zoom.
Or like
what we just-
my Ladybug maybe? Or would that be too
You can do your
glary?
Ladybug, but especially with this plastic cover on the screen, it catches a big glare. So the best thing to do is, even though you're Zooming with yourself, like even like on my screen, because I'm the host, even when I screen share, it still pulls up my, the iPad screen. Like I can see my iPad screen on my computer, just like you can see my iPad screen. So even though you might be the only one in the Zoom to get your kids to see it in the classroom, you can still do a Zoom with just yourself and screen share your iPad so that it's at least on the board and nice and big.
Okay, I'm just thinking because of like all the apps and stuff, it'd be good to have it
Mhm.
up on the screen in the classroom too. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
Zoom and then share the screen with yourself. Got it.
Mm-hmm.
Thank
I think
you.
that's going to be. And I know we had a couple questions about how to take your slides and open them up in Keynote, because Keynote is the Apple version of PowerPoint and slides. So the first thing you need to do is in the Meraki app, you need to download the HIJ. Where is it? There it is, Keynote. Huh. All right, so you need to make sure you download the Keynote app. And then once that app is downloaded, you can take any of your Google Slides on your computer. You have to download them as a PDF or as a PowerPoint. Once you've downloaded them, put them back into your Google Drive. So upload the PowerPoint or PDF version of them. And then you can open up those versions in Keynote, and you can edit the slide itself using your Apple Pencil. So I have an example. I'm just waiting for Keynote to load. Any other questions while we wait?
Sorry, can you repeat that? That was a little bit fast.
The Keynote thing?
Yes, downloading and uploading.
So when you're in, so you have to do this on the laptop. You can't do it on the iPad. On your laptop, open up your drive, find the slides that you want to use, open them up, go to the download button or go to File, Download. When you go to download, you're going to download them as a PowerPoint. So that'll download onto your computer. And then you need to file upload those PowerPoint slides back into your drive. So you're going to have two versions of the same presentation. You're going to have a slides version and you're going to have a PowerPoint version. Keynote cannot open Google Slides, but Keynote can open PowerPoint. So if I open my Keynote here, ta-da.
Excuse me, Sarah, when you were scrolling earlier, it said Google Slides. There was like a icon for Google Slides.
Yes.
That's not easier?
So you can share slides on Google Slides, but you cannot write on top of them. You cannot annotate with the Apple Pencil on top of them, which is what some people are trying to do. They're trying to share their slides, but actually write on top of them as they're talking about them. So you can't do that in Google Slides, but you can do it in Keynote. So when you open Keynote, you're going to open your presentations, and over here on the side, you need to add a location. Oops, it was just there. Where'd it go? All right, let's try again. So I'm going to connect it. Where'd it go? All right, just kidding. It was just there. So the first time you open Keynote, it does give you the option to add a location over here on the side. I don't know why it doesn't now. But you want to connect your Google Drive over here on the side. There should be a button to add a location, and you're going to connect your Google Drive. Once you've connected your Google Drive, you can open up those PowerPoints and enable them to open in Keynote, and then you can write on them. So I don't know why mine's not working right now. It was literally just there. But
Sarah, am I understanding this correctly? So I've been creating slides in Google. So now I have to take this slide, I need to save it as a PowerPoint presentation like we used to create in, but now we create in slides, but now we have to save it as PowerPoint. And then
you don't have to. This is only if you want to write on top of them.
Right? So
Yeah.
it's like so it's like a second version. So we save it as a PowerPoint presentation, then we have to open that one, and then we can write on it using Keynote.
Correct.
Okay.
Or show me. I mean, if you want to skip the step of converting it to PowerPoint, you can do the page by page import into show me and do it that way too.
And then you can write on it and show me then.
Yep, you can.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right, I'm gonna
Question, but
stop
not about the show me. Question about Clever and ST Math. Does the apps actually work from the iPad? I tried to access
Clever
it.
will work. Clever will work.
Okay.
ST Math is the student app, so it will not work.
Okay, thanks.
What else, guys? So my biggest recommendation is play around with it, change settings, go in, open apps, download apps, delete apps if you don't like them. You can put them on, you can take them off, you can put them back on again if you change your mind. You can go in your settings, you can change things, you can change your notifications, you can change your background color, you can change what your home screen looks like, your wallpaper. There's all kinds of things you can do. You cannot break this device aside from dropping it or having it fall off the counter or something like that. But in terms of like messing with the settings, you can't break it. So go in and play with it. And if something goes wrong and you want it to go back to the way it was, come to me and we'll reset it back to the way it was when we delivered it to you. So it's like starting over from scratch. But really the best way to get super comfortable with it and to know what you're doing is just take some time and like play around with it. Just try different things, do different things that you think might be useful with your students, test it out first. That's the best thing you can do. Okay, so I'm here if anybody has any questions. If you don't have any questions, feel free to jump off. I'll take any questions. It doesn't have to be iPad related. Totally up to you.
Sarah, are you in school tomorrow?
Yes.
Okay, I might have to see you. Thank you.
No worries.
Thank you for everything.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Sarah.
Anytime.
Quick question, Sarah, quick
Yep.
question. Did you use a class selector type format while you were in Google Classroom? Can you repeat?
You can,
how-
yes.
Can you repeat how you found that or how you did that?
So you mean for the student selector?
Yeah, I like that feature. Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, one sec. Hold on.
Thanks, Sarah. Appreciate it.
Wrong one. Sorry, Adam. I just kicked my kid off the TV. All right, I hit the living room TV instead of the Zoom thing. All right, so if you go into Google Classroom, here it is. All right, this time I'm going to pick a class that has a few more students in it, so it actually works. Let's go with this one. So if you pick your class, you open up your class and you go to the People tab on the bottom. Up in the corner, there's these squares. One of them's kind of sideways looking. But if you click on that, it'll say Welcome to Student Selector, and you can click Start, and it'll pick a name. And maybe this student wasn't able to answer the question, you can click Call Later, or if the student is absent, you can mark them as absent. And then when you hit Next, it picks another student, and it keeps track of how many were picked and how many are absent on the side for you. So you can keep going all the way through these students. It pulls up their photo if their photo is their little icon associated with their name, or their letter if that's what's showing up there. So it kind of is nice to have that little reminder. But it'll keep track of them. So it'll pick all 24 kids before it goes back through the cycle again and make sure it's a fair shot.
That's awesome. I love that. Okay. And how do we get rid of, like, because we've had a few kids switch from full year remote to the class. How do we get rid of kids so they don't pop up when they're no longer in the class?
So you can make them absent. So you could just do that. Like if you go and, oh, Anne's here, she's not in my class anymore, you can just mark her as absent. That's easy peasy. I don't recommend removing kids from the class because when you remove them, their grades get removed.
Okay.
So you don't want to remove kids, and kids actually have the ability to unenroll themselves from classes. So you don't want them to do that either. And if you have a kid that you know is leaving your classroom, you might want to take those grades. If you've been keeping your grades in Google Classroom, you might want to take those grades and like transfer them to a piece of paper, a paper grade book, a Google spreadsheet, something like that, so that they don't get lost. That did happen
Okay.
with one of our middle school students. They took themselves out of a class and her whole grades for the whole term were gone.
Okay. So once we start term 2, maybe after report cards, if I wanted to remove those kids, I could do that. Okay. All right. Thank you. This was awesome. I've already given feedback with my pen, so I was excited.
Yay!
Yay. All right. Thanks,
So do
Sarah.
you take a
No
screenshot
problem.
of those grades, Sarah?
Say that one more time.
Would you save them quickly with a screenshot of their grades and then?
You could do a screenshot, sure. Whatever way works for you, just so that you have a record, because if that kid unenrolls, those grades are gone. The files still exist, but the grades themselves are gone.
Yeah, I just figured that was a quicker way to at least grab them. One question I had, I don't know if it was mentioned early on, but I had set this all up ahead of time and I downloaded everything, but it seemed like they wanted the ID email that I use on my desktop Mac. And so I seem to need to put in my other Gmail account rather than A. Anderson. So I'm wondering if.
I believe yours is aanderson.1@milfordma.com.
Oh, so it didn't seem to work. So then I just used my other one and it downloaded everything on here for me. Is that a problem?
Hold on, let me see.
First, I have that.
Oh, peanuts. Let's see.
Did that change where they added a .1 because of Andy Anderson or anything? No?
I can tell you in a sec. Nope, you're A. Anderson. Just A. Anderson@milfordma.com.
Well, whatever I was trying to get into didn't seem to work until I put in Ann Christine and my other rest of the address. And I thought, they said, use whatever Apple ID you use to download apps. You think I went in through the app thing and used my own home one?
It sounds like it. Do you mind bringing it to me tomorrow at some point?
Okay. Instead of going in through that other special site.
Yeah, if you can bring it to me or even just put it in my mailbox so I can take a look at it.
Okay, my iPad, just put it in your mailbox.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And if you have a passcode, just write it down on a sticky or shoot me an email just so I can get into it and play around.
A class code? What do you mean?
The passcode, like to unlock the iPad.
Oh, my thing, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if you have one of those, just write it down or send me in an email so that I can get into
Okay.
it.
Thank you.
Yep.
And I like the math, by the way. The fraction thing, I was playing all around in there when you were
Yeah,
talking.
no, they're fun.
Yeah, and that's really good for, could I hold that up and show it to somebody that I'm doing extra help with? But I have the other whiteboard on Zoom that I share.
So you can hold it up, but the other thing you can do is what I was saying with Jackie, if you do a Zoom, even if you're in person, do a Zoom with yourself. Like just you're the only person in the Zoom. And then you can you can connect your computer to your board. And when you share your iPad in your Zoom, your iPad is up on your projector.
Oh, okay. That's a good
So
idea.
you can do it that way.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. That was great.
Yep,
Very-
no problem.
As always. Thanks. Bye.
Hi.
Bye, guys.
No, I'm staying for a minute.
What's up?
Okay, no, just quick. So every time an update comes on this, like, oh, you know, in the settings, oh, you've got updates. So now I'm going to be able to do that because I have, this is mine with my own Apple ID.
Correct.
And you recommend we always do that. Always update. If there's something that needs to be updated, update it.
So most of them should be updating on their own. They should not even ask for permission. They should
Okay.
just do it.
Okay, good.
But yes, if anything asks for permission, then yeah, just hit okay and it's fine.
Okay, excellent, excellent. Are you well-versed in iReady?
No, not at all.
Okay, okay. So who is?
Carrie Taylor.
Okay,
Kim Schmidt is relatively familiar with it. I know she's super busy with Hannah Lascarbo's spot now, but she was my go-to
Sure.
before she took over
Okay.
for Hannah. But Carrie Taylor is probably the best bet.
okay, great. All right, that's good to know. Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
I'm psyched. All right.
Yay!
Yeah, yeah. All right, have a wonderful afternoon.